about the subject matter of Ahmed Suale, etc. Let's do some recall. Gentleman to the Ghanaian public killed him. That's the accusation.
See, with all due respect to you, you journalists in this country, about 80%, 90%, you are the people going to destroy this country.
How so?
Yeah, because you misconstrue people's ideas. Whatever the person puts out there, the import of what the person puts out there, you never even analyze it. You only take just a second of a statement made out of the whole statement, let's say 8 minutes. You take about 30 seconds.
What were you trying to describe in that video?
Yeah, and I still maintain it because I will not come here today and tell you that I want to be president and therefore what is the truth, I'll say is not the truth. It is. He's a bad guy, or he was. And let me tell you, if you don't have the evidence, Anas used them.
How did he use him?
Good. All those people that Anas destroyed with his videos and everything, Anas never showed his face, except this guy. This guy was bold to set everybody up. I have a lot of videos. Gentlemen, if you have time and you come to my house, I'll show you all the videos. There's not, with the exception of the Ivorian videos that I have that you see Anas's face after the interview with the Ivorian ministers that he was entrapping. All the entrapment, it was Ahmed Suale who was sitting down with some fake Arabs who were saying that they were from the family of Sheikh Atani. So until a video comes out, you will never know that is Anas. But you know that...
Second Agyapong, this is called undercover reporting. And undercover reporting, sometimes there are simulations that are undertaken to make sure you test the character of the person. To get the best out of the person, try to make a conclusion and a story. It's not wrong.
But you say undercover.
It has given you the image that you don't love journalists.
I don't care.
You discriminate against journalists, even though you employ some.
I employ people like you. And how would I say, would you say that I don't like them?
Not when you issue threats to them.
And how do I issue threats? You think you are the only human being who have blood in you because you're a journalist? I'm afraid I don't believe in that. Because this man, if you know the number of people that have been killed, if you know the number of people that have lost their jobs, we have to be fair to all those families that Anas and Ahmed Suale set them up. You see, you didn't let me finish. It was Ahmed Suale, you are talking about undercover.
Yes, undercover.
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 So why didn't he, Ahmed Suale, also cover himself?
Because
he
it's
was
undercover.
There. No, you are saying undercover, but Ahmed Suale was there physically. Call Kwesi Nyantechi, he will tell you. Call Edubuahin, he will tell you. Call these ministers.
So why did you expose a gentleman to the Ghanaian public? Ultimately, the accusation is that it got him killed.
How did he get him killed? His own deeds killed him, not me.
All right.
What I said was that the first video I showed, you see why I have a problem with some journalists and you think I don't have it. There are a series of videos. You've taken only this one. The first one, when I mentioned Ahmed Suale, my workers came to me, oh, Honorable, you don't know this guy. This guy has been here for school fees. You gave him 1,500 cedis to go and pay his school fees. And I said, I don't know him. So they said, oh, he has been coming here all the time. So the first video, then I said, this guy is a bad guy. If he comes here, beat him up.
Subsequently, he was killed. And the main suspect has now been discharged. That's the latest. Now, we'll tell you what the court said and the position. I don't know whether it's the position of the AG. It looked like, because the court says that the AG has dismissed the case or has made a decision to discontinue the case, so to speak. And we also know that based on the advice of the AG's office, remember this is all the advice of the AG's office, the call records place the accused person's phone in the vicinity where the deceased was killed. However, the presence of the accused in the vicinity based on his phone's location alone, according to the court, was not sufficient to charge him with the murder of the deceased. Though it is stated in the police report that the accused was in the vicinity of the deceased on the day of the killing to monitor his movement, that also remains an inference until further evidence is discovered or adduced. Additionally, none of the sketches of the assailants generated by the police, based on the vivid descriptions of eyewitnesses, resembled the accused person. Neither has the investigation established that the accused was one of the assailants who shot the deceased. Remember, the assailants who shot the deceased were on a motorbike. Neither also has the investigation established that the accused was one of the assailants who shot the deceased, and that also repeated subsequently as well. Now, although the accused person could be an abettor, there must be adequate evidence to show that he was in the vicinity to abet the murder of the deceased. And the evidence presented to the office is indicating that this could not be sufficient enough to charge the accused person with the abetment to murder and murder in itself. Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Roland. I think that this is it's not a very interesting development if you ask me, but as a lawyer from where I sit, I can understand what is happening. It's not enough that you go to court with something that is not so weighty, especially when the offense or the charge is murder, because then you have the maximum sentence to be imposed. And I think that they haven't even done so much, and over the years they've been going back and forth. And while we talk about this, it brings me very bad memory of where we have come from as a country.
How do you mean?
I feel, and I mean, not to remind the families of Ahmed Suale of their pain and everything, but I made the point yesterday that today we are enjoying a certain refreshing environment when it comes to governance. Today, when I look at when I listen to radio stations and watch TV stations, journalists have the right to express editorial opinions without fear or favor, without having to fear for their lives. And while I say this, I sadly recount some of the cases like Kaka, who had to lose his life. Why? Because he expressed an opinion. And you have so many, in recent past, you have tags storming media houses, or MPP tags storming media houses. You had governments being the enablers. And even the video you played, Kennedy Agyapong himself, who is the front runner, I tip him to win over Dr. Bawumia.
You tip him to win over?
Yes. I think that he would be within the MPP, maybe a more credible candidate than Dr.
I'm not too sure.
But we'll come. But we'll come to
Ato will agree with you.
Yes. I know he's about me, but we'll come to that. And some of the very unguarded statements they made merely because they had access to screens and microphones, and practically put the lives of people at risk. Today, the then MPP government went to court without any solid evidence, without conducting the right investigation. And I've been reading a number of things from the spouse, from the families of Ahmed Suale. It's not a good thing. And I spoke to the Attorney General yesterday, and he assured me that he was going to pay attention to the case.
You mean Dr. Dominic Ayeni
himself? He assured me that he was going to pay attention to the case. He assured me that he was going to make sure that whatever needs to be corrected is corrected. Because what happens is that normally the Attorney General gives a fiat to state prosecutors, I mean police prosecutors, to do some of these things, especially when it's at the district level. And so when it escalated to his desk, he would do something about it. And I encourage the Attorney General that we shouldn't let this case just go like that. We must bring the perpetrators to justice, because we cannot continue to allow the MPP to create the impression that it is okay for journalists to be attacked. We cannot continue to build a society where we think that it is fine for people not to have dissenting opinion. I have been doing a lot of media appearances, and one of the questions one of your sister station asked me was that Dumelevel is a member of your government. He has expressed a contrary opinion. And I made a certain point forcefully that over the past 8 years, we lived in an environment that was practically gagged. And so people are not used to the fact that even within the same party, even within the same team, dissenting opinions should be allowed. And that merely because you dissented does not mean that you disapprove. If you listen to some of the unprintable words that the MPP are using on themselves, have you seen the 16 sins of Dr. Bawumia?
16 sins?
16 sins. He only had 16. Boakye Agyarko had 10. Kennedy Agyapong had 10. But as
you mean their internal presidential primary?
If you look at how...
Well, somebody will say that's internal.
Yes, that's internal. But it's a micro reflection of what they would do when they are given power. Because even amongst themselves, I'm here with my party person, Dr. Sammy. He's my friend. When we have disagreements internally, we should not be insulting ourselves using unprintable words. Why? Because we have a common opponent to fight. So if we cannot tolerate our views, if we cannot agree to disagree, if we cannot have a very we cannot exercise some restraint in our discussion, we can imagine what we'll do when we have power. These guys, when they had power, you could not, they say who born dog? You could not even express a contrary opinion. You are not even allowed to investigate corruption. In the past NDC government, you saw Manasseh, and I'll say it, and Manasseh disagrees with me in some of the stories he made about a confirmed flying and whatever. Those stories were very baseless, like the Ford expedition and all that. He is on record to have said that even the NDC government asked for protection for him because we recognize how sometimes the base will react. In the MPP, today we are having to discuss Ahmed Suale. What was the crime of Ahmed Suale? What was his offense? That as an undercover journalist, he was part of a team that was uncovering a rot. And somehow, a possible flag bearer of the MPP was not happy with him. Or that some members of the MPP were not happy. And displayed his picture on TV, asking people to do what they think they want to do to him. He lost his life. And I want
you
to,
heard Kennedy Agyapong, he said that he
I want to hear Dr. Zato on this. I really want to hear Dr. Zato on this. Because I want to know what possible defense, when some of these things happen,
the accusation you are making this pointedly is that within the MPP period,
a lot happened.
There was a culture of silence, or perceived culture of silence?
It was not perceived. It was actually a real culture of silence, not just culture of silence. It is as if your freedom of speech is guaranteed, but your freedom after speech was not guaranteed. And so you could speak because you may not know what will be the action or inaction of government. But after you speak, is that not the same government that the likes of Solomon Owusu and the people left because their dissenting opinions were not welcomed? And so if the likes of Alan Kyeremanteng and very big fishes could leave the MPP because they said that the country was headed in the wrong direction, let's do the right thing. Even then, they dealt with them. You saw how Afoko, who is a member of the MPP internally, was dealt with. Afoko was kept in prison. Sometimes, I don't even want to mention the Afoko. One day when I went to a client at BNI and I saw Afoko, I had to bow my head in shame. And today...
Paul Afoko?
Yes.
Or Gregory
Afoko. As for Paul Afoko and Kwabena Agyapong, what happened to them? At least they should be thankful that they are not behind bars. or they don't have acid bath, they've not been bathed in acid, they should be grateful. The NPP consistently have demonstrated that they are not a political party that understand the tenets of democracy. And so it is so sad that today we have to be discussing Ahmed Suale and the fact that the state prosecutors have had to discontinue the case. Because it means that even at the time they were going to court, Godfrey Dami was going to court, he had not put, things well. How were we expecting the Godfrey Dami to investigate Ken, your second flag bearer, potential, what's his name? Kennedy Agyapong. How were we expecting them within the same party? How were we expecting them to conduct a very thorough investigation? And so I'm very optimistic, and I want to follow this case and encourage Dr. Ayini that we have to bring justice and we have to bring some closure to the families of Ahmed Suale, not just Ahmed Suale. When we talk about these things, we can link them to electoral violence. 8 people who lost their lives. It was as if under the NPP, it was just not the macroeconomic issues. Our lives, our liberties, and everything. Today, it feels so refreshing. It feels so refreshing waking up and knowing that you can express your opinion, you can come and say anything, and you walk out and you don't have to look back, you don't have to do anything.
Let me just wrap up on
it. It is just something that I want to say that if you look at how things are going, the NDC may not be perfect. The NDC may not claim perfection. But when we come here to discuss some of these things, even the discussion of Ahmed Suale should remind us of how never to allow a party like the NPP to be in charge of the country. There must be a formidable opposition. We welcome that they will put pressure on us. But I think they do not know how to handle power. They do not know how to handle dissenting opinion. And I pray that what happened to Ahmed Suale should never happen to any journalist. And I also want to encourage the media houses. When some of these things happen, please don't let us discuss them only when there are some of these things happening. You must engage in a consistent campaign so that all political parties will sit up and know that there will be repercussions if you attack journalists.
All right. And if you remember, we all did as media. And Dr. Zato, the narrative Beatrice and Theo is trying to paint today is that was a siege mentality. You couldn't have made commentary if you're a journalist, so to speak, and then even within the public space and go scot-free. And the murder, brutally, of Ahmed Suale, and subsequently we see where we are today, is testament to that atmosphere that was created. You dispute that, don't you?
Good morning to you. This morning I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Ahmed Suale, and to his colleagues and the people that care a lot about him. He's dead. The Muslims say that they will have to wish him Jannah to his fathers. And I hope I've pronounced it very well. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Now, before I delve into the specific Ahmed Suale case,
you have a question.
It's important to address some of the issues that have come up because they are important.
Like what?
They're important here. What we've just heard from Honorable Beatrice here is hypocrisy on steroids. What we've just heard is this early morning
hypocrisy
is
on steroids?
Hypocrisy pro max. Look, the NDC has been in power for just 10 months. One, Adorye DC is a Ghanaian. Say whether you like him or not. This man was put in prison just 10 months. Do you think today, if you ask Adorye DC, he will tell you that everything in this country is honky-doky, press? Do you think he will say that?
Is it Adorye?
This is Adorye.
Is it Adorye who was queried by the MPP because of what he said?
Adorye was put in police cells for a misdemeanor. I'm not a lawyer, she is. For the misdemeanor, this man spent his life with good look. People, almost every Ghanaian you know, came out to appeal against why he was being kept for that. You think today, if you ask Adorye, he will tell you that this whole country is just honky-wonky press freedom. Joy FM came out with this to do a documentary. It was called Dear John Mahama. Pressure came from senior members of government, forcing, compelling Joy FM to change both the picture and the name because it was about the president.
Told you that because it will be aired today.
So, yes, pressure came on Joy FM to change that headline today. In this era of press freedom, that this hoax of a press freedom you're talking about.
Pressure?
Particularly, Musa Dakwa did
who put the pressure on Joy?
Senior members of the NDC. Musa Dakwa did a research. Musa Dakwa is a seasoned, is a pollster. He did a poll. Senior members of the NDC came out and told Musa Dakwa that it's too early to do that research. They attacked him. Musa Dakwa has to cry out to say that even under the MPP, he did a lot of polls. Nobody in the MPP ever called him not to do research. That was Musa Dakwa. Mr. Ahoy had to call into Net2 TV to chastise a journalist for daring to discuss NDC internal polls. We can go on and on and on about this. That's just thing. So if all these things are happening, you see, it just happened that all this are happening to members who happen to be MPP. In spite of all these things, if you now come to sit here and now you are trying to tell the whole world that forget, there's nothing to see here, everything is honky-dory, everything is cool, then it tells you that you are there is a mismatch. You are living in an alternative universe that doesn't bear real to it, because all these people, this is I've talked about, they've happened in the 8 months. In the 8 months with the government honeymoon. Do you know what happened by next time?
Zato,
yes.
Dr. Zato, do you say that Ato Ahoy calling into the Net2 TV program and then also reacting to what Otchere was saying and the subject matter thereof is equitable or could be equal to putting a journalist's photo on air and making utterances, ultimately, whether they influence or not, his death is the same?
What I'm saying is that this idea, this concept that all of a sudden we've just woken up to everywhere, the whole media is free, everything is free. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
It's a big hoax and it's a lie. No, these infractions happen, and in fact, sometimes they get worse as the governments get older. That is if you look at everything about it, they happen, and they happen because sometimes the journalists or the people themselves may go across the line or something happen. The idea then that all these things are new in the MPP and only happen in the MPP, but then they will not happen in the ADC, is wrong. So let me now go to the substantive case. When this issue happened, we politicized it. Not only do we politicize it, we over-politicize it. And then the whole country, we engage in what I would refer to as a tunnel vision. Everybody came to the conclusion that Ahmed Suale was murdered because of his work with Tiger Eye. There was just conclusion. So much so that it was then believed that the people who murdered Ahmed Suale were the people he was trying to expose or he had exposed. Invariably, because the people he was exposing were government officials, senior government officials, then it meant that the government had killed him. When you engage in this kind of tunnel vision, you close or you avoid yourself from looking at what we call alternative explanations, from looking at other possible scenarios. And that is what we ran with. So much so the senior opposition members promised the whole world and the whole country that when they come into power, they will find the killers of Ahmed Suale. That when they come to power, they'll find...
Who did that?
Who did that? There's a story here from GNA. GNA, 28th November 2020.
That will find the killers
at 3:34 p.m. The headline is, NDC administration will bring Ahmed Suale's killers to justice. They were quoting His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. It's a GNA story. Do
you think the manner in which he was killed was fair, and so there has to be
there's no matter that is fair. There can be no matter that is fair. There can be no killing that is fair. So, but the point I'm making is this: if you let me do, is this tunnel vision we all got into? Because we all just assume that because he was doing work that may be against government officials, that those government officials killed him. And because those government officials killed him, those same government officials could not, or the state could not be depended upon to bring his killers to justice. So the only way he can get justice is if the government is out of power and a new administration comes, then that new administration, because
but the government just came to power.
Yes, they just came to, again, that's the point I'm making. Okay. Now you came to power, you now review the evidence, you took the gas cost, and the gas is so my question then is that, so
in relation to that, and then also trying to justify or not whether there was a culture of silence.
I've not tried to justify anything.
Okay. the Press Freedom Index is a good indicator.
Yes, yes, it is.
And by 2022, it had dropped sharply.
2022.
Yeah. To 60 to 60 to 66.
Yes.
Subsequently, even by 22, so to speak.
Yes.
And then that had been a concern for everybody else. You don't think that's a concern?
It's a concern. I'm not saying it's not concern.
Because you're a political scientist.
Yes, right? I've just told you. I'm not saying it's not a concern. I've told you. I've explained.
So what are you saying?
I've explained that this idea. Yes, there were infractions on the journalists. There were some media freedoms rights were trampled upon. I've agreed. I'm not saying that did not happen.
Okay, so
but
you do agree. I do agree.
I do agree that it happened.
You do agree. There's a correlation between the index falling sharply or us doing poorly as a country, and then also Ahmed Suale's murder amid other infractions committed against
you. No, I have no evidence to draw that correlation at all. Okay. Absolutely not. But the point I'm making is that it happened, yes. I'm not saying that the media was perfect, everything was, no, the way first happened. But the point I'm now making is that we are seeing similar things right now, this early in the administration. 10 months into the administration, we are seeing similar things. And I'm telling you that to the extent of even trying to gag a pollster, an academic, to the extent of telling a whole media house that don't publish the story that you want to publish. I am saying that this is early days yet. But you are seeing the ugly head of this thing rearing up. So if you then sit down, and in fact, a fair analysis would be to say that, look, we've seen it has happened before, and we are beginning to see signs of it. As a country, collectively, we have a duty and a responsibility to make sure that it doesn't happen, to make sure that the Press Freedom Index rises and improves, to make sure that we've got a right to do that. But if the impression you are trying to create is that it was bad here, but all of a sudden, just because of the change, saying something magical has happened, all of it just that's not true, that's not fair, and that's hypocritical. Okay. The point here, the final what I want to say is that, look, we need to move away from this tunnel vision approach of just thinking that political opponents or enemies had a hand in this guy's murder. We need to move away from that. If I will advise anybody investigating, I will say it is time, because he has now been investigated by 2 administrations. And they found absolutely no evidence to link anybody to a murder. But somebody did murder this gentleman. With that, his family and this person needs justice. My point is that it's time for us to begin to look at new theories. It's time for us to look at
tunnel vision theory.
We shall abandon that.
Okay.
It's time for us to begin to look at new routes. It's time for us to look for new theories. It's time for us to look for new explanations. In other words, it's time for us to sit back and say, is it possible this had absolutely nothing to do with politics? Is it possible this has absolutely nothing to do with the work he was doing? Right. Is it possible that there are other explanations? Unless or until we do that, if we continue this rat hole that we have in, 2 administrations have now cleared us certain. We will never bring justice to the man, but his family demands justice. He deserves justice, and the laws of natural justice demand that as a country, as a state, we bring those who killed this young man to justice. We can only do that if we take the political shackles out of our eyes and begin to treat this as any other crime, and then allow the police, the investigators, the free hand to do it. Because see, if we keep doubling this as a criminal, as a criminal thing, then we are forcing the police to fill the narrative. If we create this narrative, then all we are simply telling them that fill the gaps in the narrative.
That is just a normal crime.
Exactly. So we should just let them treat as a normal murder, as a normal crime. Then they are free to exploit all the theories and bring the killers to justice.
And it's good that he keeps mentioning theories, because if you tend to follow his narratives as a lecturer, he tends to also back his arguments with theories. And could there be any correlation, knowing that there's a certain culture of you not being able to express yourself without getting any retributive reaction within the period of the MPP administration, ultimately culminating in a key political stakeholder, a member of parliament, subsequently intending to become a presidential candidate of the governing party at the time, making these inferences, making these gestures. Of course, no evidence has been adduced that he was responsible for it. At the end of the day, could influence opinion or not?
Roland, it could. And I'm here listening to my brother Zato complain about politicization of such issues. And he himself end up doing the very politics that he's accusing Beatrice of doing, or former administration of having done, which does not augur well for our political discourse. When I heard Kennedy Agyapong do what he did, in terms of calling out Ahmed Suale, I wasn't happy. Because no matter how you disagree with anybody, you cannot court hatred for the person. Yes, there is no evidence that it was Kennedy Agyapong that killed him. The police has not established that. But let me say that some of these things, the Ghana Police Service is the institution that is letting us down. And they cannot convince me sitting down here that Ghana as a small country, Accra as a very small city, something of this sort happens, and you tell me since 2019 you have not gotten closer to the murderers. That cannot be something I'll be proud of. Remember, you were in this country in 1998 when Otchere and Ninja. You remember the Taekwondo guy and
the police officer who was buried
exactly. Together with Jerry Wonu Tola. They were killed, buried, but the police administration was able to establish where he was. The two were buried. The Ghana Police Service, if they want to be professional, they will be professional. Some of these things, in their own interest, they sit on it. We must call them out. We have had an MP in this country, J.B. Adu, what's the name? J.B. Dankwa, killed like a chicken. And as we speak, we don't know the perpetrator of that heinous crime. What are you talking about? If people like this are dying and we cannot apprehend the culprits, then, Roland, what happens to some of us? Because every day we are on television doing advocacy, doing activism. Then, because you said something that is not good for you anyway, death is one, you can do whatever. But the point is that when you are not able to assure the public that something of this sort, the police administration will be able to go closer into it and then get the culprits arrested, then it does not assure any confidence. But let me deal with certain specifics. You see, nobody must attempt to paint the Akufo Addo administration as being holier than thou in these circumstances.
You mean somebody is trying to whitewash them?
That was trying to do that. They were worse. And at this second, they were worse, so worse.
How did you come to those conclusions?
Look, under Akufo Addo's administration, you dared not even speak about the president. You will be arrested. You remember Bulldog?
Bulldog.
He was arrested. Manasseh Azuri had to run for his dear life, run away from this country. Why not in this country? Look,
Manasseh Azuri.
Azuri had to run away. Erastus Asaredonko. He has been doing all this galamsey, what do you call it? Exposés. Go and ask him the sort of threats he received under the New Patriotic Party. Look, pundits, panelists, they were doing a program on UTV, United Television. There was an entertainment program on Saturday. We had NPP youth who invaded a live show to scatter everything. Why not in this country? Why not in this country? So when we are saying some of these things, we must not try to enter into the realm of politics. The institutions must work. You see, I've had a problem with some of these investigations. Remember in 2007, Samuel Lenin, he was the president of the Asante region, GJ. He was murdered in cold blood like that.
Samuel Lenin.
Lenin. Like joke. As we speak, we don't even know the perpetrators of this act. I find it very disturbing that in this country that everybody is a gossiper. That whatever you do, they will gossip. I've told you that if you take out Ethiopia, we are the next gossip, a country that gossips than any country.
They are gossips, yeah.
So how wouldn't you be able to apprehend the culprits?
So you're saying if the police want to do their work,
they know the killers, they must go for them. Whose interests are they protecting?
Now let me ask you a substantive question. Do you think there was a culture of silence or there was a siege atmosphere?
Yes.
In your ability to be able to express yourself?
Yes.
Whether you're a journalist or a public speaker, etc., within the last administration?
No, there was.
Comparable to this?
There was a huge one. Even within the parties, remember 80 people or 88 people said that the former finance minister had to be booted out of office. Go and ask what happened to them. Haven't you heard Andy Apiakubi say there was an attempt to poison him?
95.
They
the MPs.
The MPs. Within their own party.
Your former party?
I've left, so now I don't want to. You want to refer me as former party, that tomorrow my party is coming. Please cease referring me to former party. I have moved on.
I apologize.
But the truth of the matter is that I wasn't safe. That is why most of the men in that party became timid, became women in that party. And so when I hear them speak today, some of them speak today, I cringe. I say, where were you in the last 8 years? Look, in the last 8 years, a journalist by name Bismarck Brown, they organized Meet the Press at the Jubilee House. This guy, I think he was doing his journalistic business as usual, went and asked a fundamental question about the Ministry of Health. He was hunted out of where he was working. Later on, he found himself hopping from one radio station to the other in Kumasi. Go and see, listen to what happened to the family. Things have happened in this country.
Bismarck Brown.
Bismarck Brown, you can call him
BB.
BB. Because the president of the day didn't like the sort of question that was asked. And as though the questions were already planted to journalists, that question became a strange question per arrangement. So the president was like, how can you, who are you to come and ask that question? After that, working with a thinker, he suffered. So the truth of the matter is that it has not been better, but we have to improve upon it. We need to cause our police institution to be professional. They know the killers, and I still insist they know them. If they were able to identify a corpse, a dead body that was buried beneath the earth without their knowledge, then they have no business telling me that they do not know the killers of Ahmed Suale, especially when we are told by our witness that even the guy that shot, he had to do a kissing, a goodbye kiss to the dead body. Haven't you read their report?
You mean shot and then?
Yes, he said shot and then. I have never seen someone before that the guy is so happy that he has been able to kill a human being. It means there could be vivid description of the culprit. So how did they get it wrong by going to arrest a wrong culprit when you have the image of the person that has been described? Are you trying to throw dust into the eyes of the people? So they have to come again. I'm not too sure this ends the case. They must rather go back, do what is right. The police administration must speak the truth. Tell us who was behind it, and not just that. Any murder that happens in this country, it must not affect big fishes in society, but any ordinary person or people that we consider as non-entities, they must be of interest to the people, so that everyone can be working in this country with confidence, not fearing anything that happens.
Because nobody is above the law.
The law is the law.
Martin Kpebu is a legal practitioner. He's on the line. Good morning to you, Mr. Kpebu. Mr. Kpebu. Mr. Kpebu.
Yes, good morning. Yes, morning.
And I do understand from Beatrice, who is a legal practitioner as well, says discharge is not acquittal. So it means that the AG can reopen this case anytime, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, under our law, that is it. If a person is discharged simpliciter, then it means that the case has not been dealt with on its merits. That is simply put, the court go into the case proper. The court didn't investigate the case, right? Sometimes, yes, the investigations can begin, but it doesn't get to the point where I call it point of no return. If it doesn't get to that point, maybe you can even call 5, 7 witnesses. But if the prosecution has not closed this case and the case has to come to an end, they will still say discharge, meaning that the court hasn't gotten to that threshold. But if, let's say, the prosecution closes case, that one, they cannot say discharge. Of course, there's always a right to enter nolle prosequi before the judge rules. But that's not what we are dealing with here. Just to keep it simple here, the court has not gone into the merits of the case. The court has not listened to the witnesses. There are people who said it is Mr. Akranting who was behind it. The court has not heard them. So once the court has not heard them and has to cancel the case, the AG said that they will cancel the case because of the insufficient evidence. Then that's it. Anytime they find the right evidence, they can return, and then the case will be heard.
All right. Now, subsequently, there's been a big debate on the platform, right here, I mean, whether it's from Jabunti Zato, PhD, to Beatrice, to Solomon, a debate, a pointed debate about whether there was a culture of strangulation in relation to how to air your own opinion in the environment which was governed by the MPP in the last administration. What's your own take on that before I let you go?
Oh, that one. Yeah, let me use this legal term, but we like using it colloquially. We say res ipsa. Res ipsa, meaning the matter speaks for itself. It's the MPP that have to come and explain. No, it was so rampant. It was obvious that we're living under a culture of silence. I remember even Sam Jonah had to come in. You know, when the culture of silence was getting to its peak, Sam Jonah had to come in. And then, you know, it erupted another round of discussions and debates here and there. Sam Jonah, yes, he came in and delivered a speech and said, look, he sees the return of the culture of silence, okay? And generally, a lot of people spoke up. You remember, so me, today, as I said, you know, every Saturday when I appear on the key points, Saturday morning on TV3, I single out a few people and then allow them for speaking out when we had a culture of silence. I usually mention Sofe Kufu, the former Chief Justice, whom I have nicknamed the Asantua. Then we named Doma Ahini. He used to also speak, notwithstanding that he's a chief, he used to speak against the ills in the Akufo Addo government. Then we mentioned Tróuble after the chief Awumefia of Asogli State, Agbogbo of Asogli State, etc. You say, and then Kentucky Teku II, also asking for justice in the Cecilia Adapa matter. Cecilia Adapa, who had millions of dollars and Ghana cedis in her home, that she cannot explain how she got that money, right? So there was a culture of silence. And if we want to be scientific, earlier on you referred to the Press Freedom Index. As far as I can remember, for the 8 years that Akufo Addo was in government, it's only 2 years that he did well compared to the previous JEA Mills and John Mahama administration. Yes, you can check the record. For the 8 years, what his best year was 2018. That was when we even celebrated the World Press Freedom Day in Ghana. We were #1 in Africa, I think, for that year, 2018. And that was it. After that, you know, Ahmed Suale died in 2019. And then we went down,
But Mr. Kweku, within the MPP period, you were talking left, right, center. Nobody stopped you.
Yes, I'm coming to that. But you know, my name is Pebu. You know, you understand what Pebu means. The spirits are different. The spirits are different, you know. So when you have a few people, so you see, the spirits, when I say the spirits are different, so I'm a man of courage, extra courage. But the average man didn't find that space. It had to take people of extraordinary courage.
Okay.
So that's not freedom of speech. There's a culture of silence.
All right, thank you.
It's when the average man can speak, then you say, yes, there's freedom of speech.
Thank you. Mr. Kweku, I wish you all the best for the day.
You're welcome.
Fantastic man so far. So I'll oblige you maybe some 2 minutes. I know you take 3 or 4.
Yes. But I have to first respond to some of the things that Dr. Zato has mentioned. So to Dr. Zato, let me say that maybe you may not see it, but the greatest evidence of the freedom of speech and the fresh air, and even the freedom after speech that we are enjoying in Ghana is you, Dr. Zato.
Oh.
Because Dr. Zato can shout, say a lot of things, and after the show, nobody comes after him. The story of Manasseh and Bibi, they were not even shouting, but they did not have the right environment. So it cannot be hypocrisy on steroids. And Dr. Zato is a PhD holder. He cannot tell me that when people conduct research, like the Musa Dankwa polls that he referred to, and the opinion is that it may be too early for you to conduct research, that amounts to attacking academic freedom. My goodness, that cannot be the case. And again, the issue of somebody changing headlines. Roland, I expected you to put him to some proof and explain to him that sometimes even editors will get editorial policies wrong. I worked with the Enquirer newspaper when I was in the university. And when you do a story and it is brought to your attention that you did not get these right, sometimes the media houses are so humble, they either put the story down.
Well, this week there was an apology that was given to the sports minister.
They either pull the story down, or they issue an apology, or they do a retraction. That cannot be somebody oppressing. Dr. Zato, maybe you were not around under the MPP government. I don't know whether Dr. Zato was on your show, but some of the richest people in this country, like Sam Jonah, who is not a Cadbury member, said that there was a culture of silence. But why are we even going far? Professor Frimpong Boateng. Professor Frimpong Boateng.
What did he do?
When he authored a report on MPP members who were engaged in galamsey, look at what happened to Professor Frimpong Boateng. In your own party. In your own party. Professor Frimpong Boateng is not an NDC Cadbury member. Then he says, oh, please, let's get serious with discussions. If you want to equalize when the NDC government has done something wrong, Dr. Zato, come stronger. Come with very solid, and I have consistently maintained that the present Mahama presidency you are experiencing, for which reason we are committed to major macroeconomic stabilities that your Bawumia could not give the people of Ghana. We also welcome very dissenting opinions. And so when you are trying to counter a murder case, at a time when we are discussing a life lost, you are comparing it to Musa Dankwe's research that people said is too early, and this is the rebuttal. At a time when we are talking and people are in pains about some of the things that happened to them. My friend Caleb Kuda, what was his crime? Because he wanted to film something as a journalist, ended up with the NIB. And when you have to equalize, you are saying that change of headlines. I mean, we should not do this to ourselves. Sometimes I don't know whether you bring him here as a member of the MPP or as an objective person. Because when I'm dealing with him, I don't know whether to deal with him as an objective person or a member of the MPP. But if he's a member of the MPP, no, I think I've seen his pictures where he's a member of the MPP. But if he's a member of the MPP, he must know that his party did a lot of disservice to this nation. He must know that the MPP led Ghana into abyss. We should not even be reminding people of our pains. You came from an election with an electoral defeat of over 1.7 million. At this time, you ought to be doing introspection. You ought to be reflecting on what were the wrongs. At this time, we expect you, on one breath, they are apologizing, on an apology talk. On another breath, they are saying that, you know what, we did everything right, which is which. I can understand that they are going through some emotional, turbulent moments because they want to elect a new flag bearer. But let's not equalize what happened in the past.
The time is running.
No journalist has died. You cannot compare death to dissenting opinion. Yes, under MPP, people were speaking. It didn't mean that everybody was quiet. We were saying that certain things that the government did not feel comfortable with, there was a way they reacted to it. Press freedom, as at 2022, reduced, and Ghana moved from 1st to 10th position. I have the index here. So when we say and when we make some suggestion, we do that in the hope that even we as NDC government, we will learn. So let not people try to reduce the discussion, and you know the evidence, Abronye. What? Is it because Abronye is insulting Kennedy Agyapong for the Bawumia campaign that today Abronye is an idol in society whose freedom has been curtailed, what did Bawumia do? And did you check who the complainant is in the Bawumia case? Did Dr. Zato check? Government had nothing to do with that. In fact, many government communicators, including myself, we were on record to have criticized the decision of the court. You could not do that. Under your government, everything the court did was sacred. Did you see governments trying to condone that? I mean, those acts which we felt were not in tandem. So Dr. Zato should come back stronger.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.